Chapter 45-52. The ox-demon patriarch in his giant form stood there and watched. It wasn't that he didn't want to help, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. But who knew that his demons couldn't stop Lei Gong's attack at all? All right, my son only said a few words. You're a man, so why be so calculative? Let's forget about this matter. Now that his son had asked for help, he had to help. With that, he strode toward the giant ghost and the others, wanting to sweep them away. For Lei Gong's sake, I'll overlook your rudeness. Get lost. Obviously, he didn't dare to kill the giant ghost and the others easily. Of course, if it was before, with his tyrannical nature, he wouldn't have shown them any mercy. At the end of the day, it was because he was afraid of Lin Ling. Rumble. A huge palm slammed toward the giant ghost and the others, and the void immediately exploded, rumbling unceasingly. The ox-demon patriarch was a true god, stronger than the steel slayer god emperor and the others, so they couldn't stop him. Old ox, I'm teaching the younger generation a lesson. It's none of your business. But at this moment, a figure appeared in front of the giant ghost and the others and punched out. Boom! This punch collided with the ox-demon patriarchs, and there was no clear winner. Looking carefully, one could see a thin and weak figure in front of the demon ox patriarch. His blue robe was fluttering in the wind. It was actually Lin Ling. You broke through. The ox-demon patriarch's body trembled, and his hair stood on end. Others didn't know about Lin Ling, but he knew very well. Back in the Jier Ox Cave, he once fought against Lin Ling and was sent flying. At that time, Lin Ling hadn't broken through yet. Now that he had broken through, it seemed that he didn't even need to fuse with his innate talent and could easily fight against him. Of course, the others were also shocked. After all, the ox-demon patriarch was a peak god, and his strength was slightly stronger than the Kurishin. They guessed that Lin Ling shouldn't be a match for the ox-demon patriarch. He was just a little bit weaker. Breakthrough. So that's how it is. Many gods guessed that after Lin Ling broke through, he would finally be able to contend against the bull demon patriarch with his full strength. Below the huge battleship, a woman looked down indifferently with a cold expression. She was Luli Empress, but her eyes were very cold because she hadn't expected that Lin Ling's strength would increase again. Lei Gong, my son said something wrong. How about we both take a step back? At this moment, the ox-demon patriarch maintained his posture of punching out, but secretly unleashed his full strength. Unfortunately, he couldn't shake Lin Ling at all, so he said coldly, "Everyone, take a step back." Lin Ling was like the immovable wisdom king. He smiled faintly. "I'm telling your son whether or not I'm a thief. Now, I'll chop him up in front of his father, and let him know that I don't need to steal to kill him. Don't be so arrogant." Hearing Lin Ling's condescending tone, the ox-demon patriarch was furious. It was rare for him to come out of the Jier Ox Cave, but in the end he encountered such a freak. "I'm just so arrogant." Lin Ling maintained his punching posture, but the first part of his innate gifts had quietly fused. His divine energy increased sharply, especially the strength of his physical body. Now he was even more terrifying. At this moment he was more like a true ox-demon. Ka. The ox-demon patriarch's huge arm trembled, emitting a thunderous rumble as if it was about to split open. Ah, this bastard can still become stronger. The ox-demon patriarch was shocked and didn't dare to be arrogant anymore. Like an ox being pulled by its reins, he became obedient and docile. "Lin Ling, for better or worse, we've worked together in the Jier Ox Cave. Give this old ox some face and let my son go." His words directly turned into begging for mercy. "Fine, I'll give you some face." Lin Ling nodded and retracted his fist. He said to the giant ghost and the others, "Give him 3 slaps to teach him a lesson. After all, he's our ox, don't kill him." Okay. The giant ghost and the others laughed. Of course, they were secretly shocked. They remembered that before Lin Ling went to the Kaiyuan River, his strength wasn't so strong. This bastard really became stronger after the trip to the Kaiyuan River. "My ox, I don't want to be an ox." The young patriarch was about to cry. He still wanted to defeat Lin Ling and win Longyang's favor, but now, he had become an ox in Lei Gong's hall. "Shut up." The ox-demon patriarch shook his numb arm and scolded angrily. Then, he looked at Lin Ling with a trace of fear in his eyes. This brat was really a freak. Pa pa pa. Under everyone's gaze, 3 loud slaps sounded. After the giant ghost slapped the young patriarch, he asked proudly, "Now who's the thief?" It's me, it's me." The young patriarch had no choice but to admit defeat. Just like his father, he was like an ox tied up by the reins. When the gods saw this scene with their own eyes, their faces became even more solemn. Regardless of whether they admitted it or not, they had already admitted it in their hearts. Now Lin Ling had not only completely stepped into the ranks of the strongest gods, but his strength was also ranked at the top. And such news undoubtedly made them feel a great deal of pressure, and even a great deal of fear. Especially on the side of the Spirit Nation, the 4 spiritual gods, including Lord Ning, all stared at Lin Ling as if they couldn't believe that the young man in front of them was the junior who had caused havoc in the Spirit Nation. Is he still Lin Ling? Could it be that this is a fake Lin Ling? Someone muttered to himself, "Luli Empress, do you still have the confidence to kill Lin Ling?" Lord Ning secretly transmitted his voice to Luli Empress. The latter was silent, and her face was as calm as an ancient well. However, her hands, which were hidden in her sleeves, were tightly clenched into fists. Lin Ling's previous bull training had actually given her a lot of pressure. It could be said that she had already witnessed Lin Ling's rise in the world of gods, blooming with bright lights like fireworks. All right, the matter of the Ox Demon clan is settled. Next, it's my master's matter. Underworld Demon Sealer, I want you dead. At this moment, Lin Ling's eyes turned and looked at the Underworld Demon Sealer. This Lin Ling seems to be settling scores with the Xian Wuba frowned. He had a feeling that after the Underworld Demon Sealer was dealt with, it would be his turn next. As for the other gods, they felt that Lin Ling was declaring his sovereignty as the host, and also telling everyone that the void of the 9 prefectures was his territory. No one was allowed to behave atrociously here. Lei Gong. Seeing Lin Ling's gaze, the Underworld Demon Sealer gritted his teeth. If he didn't put Lin Ling in his eyes before, then Lin Ling's brief confrontation with the Ox Demon clan made him realize that Lin Ling seemed to be stronger than him. He didn't dare to say anything. Perhaps Lin Ling's action of killing the chicken to warn the monkey made him, a monkey from a circus, not dare to jump up and down. Chapter 45-53. Haha, your master isn't dead yet. Why do you have to be so aggressive? Lord Ning suddenly smiled. Today we're waiting for an ancient god, so we don't want to make a big fuss. However, if someone doesn't care about the gods and wants to disrupt the order, Ling Nation won't just stand by and watch. Lord Ning, are you going to support the Underworld Demon Sealer? Lin Ling also looked at Lord Ning. It's not that. I just don't want His Majesty Lei Gong to be the sole ruler. Lord Ning smiled. His words made it clear that they were indeed going to support the Underworld Demon Sealer. Haha, it's not fun to disturb the calm water. That's why I hope the water is still clear. Suddenly another voice sounded. It was Xian Wuba. He also wanted to help the Underworld Demon Sealer. Those who had a grudge against His Majesty Lei Gong didn't want His Majesty Lei Gong to rise up and become the sole ruler. The eyes of the other gods flashed as they spoke one after another. Among them was the Yu Continent Divine Ruler. Thus, the people of the Underworld Ling Nation, Xianlinggu Nation, and the Yu Continent Divine Ruler, especially the Green Lotus Divine Ruler, were the most unfathomable. No one could see through his strength. Haha, His Majesty Lei Gong, let's see what you'll say now. The Underworld Demon Sealer didn't expect so many people to help him. Of course, he knew that the gods weren't helping him because they valued him, but because they wanted to use him to suppress His Majesty Lei Gong. And he was the fuse that ignited the fire. However, he didn't care. Instead, he felt very good about bullying Lin Ling until he didn't dare to speak. Just a rising star. How dare he be so arrogant in front of so many seniors? That's against the will of the heavens. It's time to suppress him. At this moment, endless lightning exploded in the distance. After that, a burly figure with the head of a tiger and the body of a human slowly walked over with a snake in his hand. His footsteps were like thunder, and every step he took caused the void to explode. The sound of his footsteps made one's heart beat continuously. Another god has come. The spirit province has become a god's world. Staring at the domineering figure, the hearts of the crowd trembled. Today's scene was something they would never forget for the rest of their lives. It was to the extent that this gathering of deities would definitely be recorded in the annals of history for the future generations to view. Lei Gong Linling's name will go down in history. I just don't know how he'll be able to resist the pressure of the gods, an old man excitedly said. He hoped that Lei Gong Linling could raise the prestige of the 9 continents void. After all, Lei Gong Linling represented their era while the Spirit Nation represented the era of the gods. This was a clash between 2 eras. Rumble. With the arrival of the ancient figure, all the lightning receded like the tide. Finally, the burly tiger-headed man turned into an old man. This old man had a lion's mane, and his eyebrows were vertical. He was very majestic. 12 ancestors of witches, ancestor of Thunder Wu Qiangliang. At this moment, the hearts of all the deities exploded. They had seen this ancient figure in the Jier Ox cave. He was at the same level as the Spirit Nation's great god. However, he seemed to be heavily injured and was not as strong as before. However, his knowledge, experience, and origin were not something that the current deities could compare to. This was because he was also a great ancient deity. Lei Gong Linling, right? Back in the ancient era of the Thunder Tyrant, you were still drinking milk in the cycle of reincarnation. The old man went straight to the point and looked directly at Linling. All those years ago at the foot of the Divine Mountain, Linling had stolen the stone steel, and he'd been displeased with Linling for a long time. Now this junior had actually taken himself to be the lord of the era and didn't take the gods seriously at all, and this made him even more displeased. Lei Gong Linling, with your Lei Gong Hall, can you fight against the gods? After the arrival of ancestor of Thunder Wu Qiangliang, the underworld sealer became even more confident and fearlessly looked at Linling. With just the Lei Gong Hall, it is still a bit lacking. However, with the addition of us, at least we won't be sitting ducks. However, after the underworld sealer spoke, the Kurishin Eugene and Titanic Crescent God all spoke up. After the establishment of the 9 provinces' 4 great gods, they once again joined forces to fight against an external enemy. The last time they were so united was when the previous Lei Gong was still around. Kurishin, your mission is to fight against the Spirit Nation. Now, you are not only fighting against the Spirit Nation but also us. I can tell you that the Spirit Nation is still my enemy, but I, the divine ruler of Yuzhou, am prejudiced against this young Lei Gong. Do you want to oppose the divine ruler of Yuzhou? Suddenly, the Green Lotus Overlord opened his eyes and lightly asked. He had heard about the 4 gods. Lei Gong was forced to death by the other gods, causing this young Lei Gong to hate the Kurishin. According to common sense, such a great threat should be eliminated as soon as possible, so the Kurishin wanted nothing more than for Linling to die. Moreover, Linling was a rising god. The Kurishin wanted to take advantage of their seniority, so how could they listen to Linling? Haha, we 4 gods have been through many storms since the era of the gods. Do you think you can sow discord with just a few words? Back then, Brother Lei Gong gave his hall to Linling, so in our hearts, Linling is Lei Gong. The Kurishin laughed. That's right, we 4 gods have already discussed it. In the future, His Highness Lei Gong will be our leader. Titanic Crescent God added. No matter what Linling wants to do, everything he does is what we, the 4 great gods, have to do. Eugene was the last to speak. She owed Linling her life under the Divine Mountain, and she also owed Linling a favor for the Luli Empress matter. Therefore, she would definitely stand on Linling's side. What? This news shocked all the gods. The 3 gods saw His Highness Lei Gong as their leader. So why were they willing to put down their pride and do all this? The gods' eyes flickered. They were even more certain that Linling was now the number 1 god in the 9 provinces. Our dragon race is also willing to see His Highness Lei Gong as our leader. At this time the dragon god also spoke. This was another colossus that usually stood aloof from worldly affairs. It was rare for them to come to the 9 provinces void, and they were led by Linling again. Our 10 orthodoxies are also willing to see His Highness Lei Gong as our leader. Another voice sounded, and it was as if another wave had not yet subsided. We owed Linling a favor that day on the Divine Mountain. Today we will also support Linling. Next, the old man with the fly whisk and the black dragon also spoke. In this way, the gods in the void were divided into 2 camps. One side was the underworld demon sealer, and the other side was Lei Gong Lin Ling. For a moment the void was silent. The gods' expressions changed drastically, and they all had their own thoughts. In the distance, the martial artists from the 9 provinces and the 10,000 worlds were in high spirits. 9 provinces number 1 god, Lin Ling, deserved the title. Chapter 45-54. But now, not only were the 4 gods and the dragon tribe supporting Lin Ling, even the 10 orthodoxies were on his side. This was unbelievable. Alright, all of you can support him. I want to see which one of you can save him. The green lotus immortal overlord floated up. The green lotus beneath his feet spun slowly and emitted an ancient power. Destiny. This was the power of destiny. This was also the god's stairs, which had the power to dictate the fate of others. Lin Ling, this is your fate. I'll spare your life out of respect for Lei Gong, but it's not too late for you to give up your position as Lei Gong and follow my path. The green lotus immortal overlord murmured. His aged voice reverberated throughout the void as if it was the voice of a god. An invisible wave spread towards Lin Ling, as if it wanted to decide Lin Ling's fate. What a powerful god stares. It's probably at the very low level. The eyes of the gods flickered when they sensed the invisible wave of destiny. The green lotus immortal overlord's strength had always been a mystery. However, the gods guessed that he should be at the intermediate god level. Even if he wasn't, he was still half a step into the intermediate god level. He was stronger than all the late-stage lower gods. Although the difference between lower gods and intermediate gods was only one word, no matter how strong a lower god was, they only had a 10% chance of not losing to an intermediate god. Moreover, that was only not losing. As for winning, it was impossible. This was because a mid-god possessed a mysterious energy. It seemed to be the energy of a god, but it was even more powerful than the energy of a god. For the time being, it was called the energy of a mid-god. This energy was something that a low god would never be able to resist unless they possessed the steps of the gods. Now, the green lotus immortal overlord had made his move. Although there were many gods on Lin Ling's side, no one could stop him. Clear water sky. However, at this moment, a cold voice resounded. Then, everyone saw countless water droplets floating in the void without moving. It was very strange, but what was terrifying was that these water droplets actually ignored the green lotus immortal overlord's stairs of destiny and firmly guarded that side of the world. What's going on? The green lotus immortal overlord's expression changed slightly. He sensed a power that didn't belong to a lower god. Whoosh! Whoosh! However, as soon as he finished speaking, the water droplets shot over. They looked translucent, but each droplet contained the power of millions of gods. They smashed against the steps of destiny with an earth-shattering force. Lotus bloom. Green Lotus immortal dominator immediately shouted and flicked his finger. The green lotus under him floated out and bloomed in front of him. Boom! However, when the endless water droplets arrived, an explosion that tore apart the void sounded. The green lotus seemed to be floating in a storm, on the verge of collapse. Who are you? At this moment, Green Lotus immortal overlord no longer had any doubts. His opponent must be a mid-level god and also possessed a divine stare. This divine stare also had the power of fate. However, while Green Lotus immortal overlord plundered fate, his opponent created it. Whoosh! The endless water droplets were blocked by the lotus, but one of them still flew past the lotus and slashed his face. After that, everything returned to normal as if nothing had happened. Only a shattered continent spiraled in the distance. It was as if the heavens were falling and the earth was collapsing. This continent was the Spirit Province. Even though it was just a short clash between the two gods, the Spirit Province collapsed. Who are you? Green Lotus immortal overlord roared again. Unfortunately, Lin Ling's side was silent. The gods looked even more shocked than Green Lotus immortal overlord. Lei Gong Lin Ling, who is he? Green Lotus immortal overlord couldn't get anything out of him, so he could only stare at Lin Ling and ask. Lin Ling's expression was still cold. Even when Green Lotus immortal overlord attacked him, he wasn't moved at all. After hearing Green Lotus immortal overlord's words, he said indifferently, "My servant." What? Green Lotus immortal overlord opened his mouth wide in disbelief. He thought that Lin Ling was tricking him. The gods were also dumbfounded. Whose servant would be so powerful? Please find a good excuse to fool us. Anger began to surge in their hearts, but they didn't dare to act because there was a mid-level god hiding on Lin Ling's side. If they acted rashly, they might be killed by him. Underworld Demon Sealer. Get over here and accept your death. Seeing that no one dared to speak, Lin Ling looked at the Underworld Demon Sealer. The latter's expression was uncertain. He never expected things to turn out like this. I want to see who still dares to speak for you. Lin Ling spoke again, his voice becoming more domineering as he looked at the Spirit Nation's 4 spiritual gods. On the warship, the 4 spiritual gods were silent. Even Green Lotus Immortal Overlord couldn't defeat him, so he was definitely a mid-level god. How could they dare to speak casually? Damn it. Apart from Lord Ning, the other spiritual gods cursed inwardly. Today, the 4 spiritual gods had come to raise the prestige of the Spirit Nation. However, it seemed that they were only supporting characters. His Majesty Lei Gong was today's main character, especially when a junior from back then was yelling at them while they couldn't talk back. One could imagine how they felt. You still dare to speak. Seeing that the Spirit Nation didn't dare to speak, Lin Ling looked at Xianling Wuba. Xianling Wuba's expression changed slightly, and he actually hid in the crowd. You again. Lin Ling stared at Ancestor of Lightning Wu Qiangliang. However, the latter didn't swallow his anger like the others. Instead, he glared back at Lin Ling. However, he seemed to have some misgivings, so he only stared at Lin Ling but didn't dare to speak. If you don't dare to speak, then shut up. Lin Ling retracted his gaze and shouted, reprimanding the other spiritual gods. None of them dared to speak. The entire Jojo was silent. This guy, Kirishin and the others were shocked. Back on the sacred mountain, Lin Ling could only use underhanded means to steal the stone tablet. He didn't even think about fighting the spiritual gods head-on. But now, he was scolding the spiritual gods. I dare to speak, so what? However, at this moment, a voice suddenly rang out. Then, a bright light flashed and a figure appeared on the warship. This person was wearing a white robe, and even his skin was as white as snow. It was very strange. His long hair fluttered in the wind, and his whole body was pure white. However, it gave people a different kind of beauty. His facial features were handsome, and the corner of his mouth was slightly raised with a devilish smile. A spiritual god of the Spirit Nation. Countless spiritual gods stared at the spiritual god who suddenly appeared, and their hearts trembled violently. Interesting. Chapter 45-55. Everyone said that an ancient god from the primal chaos realm was coming. But now that he's here, you guys are fighting amongst yourselves. If he comes, you guys will become a laughing stock. After the old man appeared, another expert arrived. This person was holding a jug of wine and looked sloppy. It was the Taoist of many treasures. As such, the most ancient characters of the 9 prefectures had gathered. The strength of these 3 gods was unfathomable. They were probably at the level of intermediate gods. Even if they weren't, they were still outliers among the lower gods. If one had to make an example, they would be the gods of gods. Lei Gong Lin Ling, do you want to attack the underworld's devil sealer? What if I don't agree? The Spirit Nation's great god smiled at Lin Ling and ignored the other 2 gods. The Taoist of many treasures and the old man didn't seem to be interested in this matter. Their target was the ancient god from the primal chaos realm. So they also smiled and looked at each other. I didn't expect Whitewater Pure Maiden to wake up. Lei Gong Lin Ling, you really surprised me. It seems like there's nothing you can't do. The Spirit Nation's great god spoke again with his eyes locked on one person. It was Whitewater Pure Maiden. Whitewater Pure Maiden was wearing a veil, but her cold eyes were also staring at the Spirit Nation's great god. There was a trace of hatred in the depths of her eyes. However, she knew the Spirit Nation's great god's strength, so she didn't say anything. Is this his true appearance? Lin Ling didn't answer the Spirit Nation's great god. Instead, he stared at the latter's face. This was the first time Lin Ling saw his true appearance. In the past, the Spirit Nation's great god only had a smile on his face, which was very strange. But now all his facial features were present. However, this also meant that the Spirit Nation's great god was stronger than before. The spirit nation's great god is also here. It's over, it's over. Countless people also stared at the legendary great god of slaughter. Their bodies and minds trembled as if they were witnessing the end of the world. Below the ground, Xingxiun and the others were also pale. They had not expected that because of them, the ancient great deities would be mobilized, resulting in the peak war between the 9 states void and the spirit nation. Unfortunately, they did not know that the underworld demon sealer was just a fuse. Even without him, Lin Ling and the spirit nation would still have a conflict. The two sides were only using the underworld magic sealer to play a game of chess. Lei Gong, Lin Ling, you've ruined my plans time and time again. Now, it's time for you to give me an explanation. Seeing Lin Ling's silence, the great god spoke again. The faces of the gods changed drastically. Back then, at the peak of the sacred mountain, the Donghuang Tai bell was snatched by Shangyi. This was something that was obvious to all. However, Shangyi had disappeared later on. Therefore, no one was afraid of Lei Gong's Grand Hall anymore. In their opinion, Shangyi might have abandoned Lei Gong's Grand Hall. But now Shangyi had returned. That's right, I'm back. The void was torn apart. A figure holding a huge god bell strode towards Lei Gong's Grand Hall. His clothes were ordinary and he didn't even seem strong. But there was an ancient majesty that bloomed from him. As for that massive divine bell, endless divine runes were spitting out from it, releasing a majesty that didn't belong to this era. Kakaka. Looking at the great god of the spirit nation, his body was constantly cracking and recovering. He was surrounded by the sound of the bell, which continued to wreak havoc on him. The Donghuang Tai bell is indeed powerful. The great god of the spirit nation was still smiling, but there was a trace of fear in his eyes as he looked deeply at Shangyi, who was walking down. Shangyi's appearance silenced the heavens and the gods. They knew that there was a light at the end of the tunnel. The true strongest god was actually Shangyi. Shangyi greets Lord Lei Gong. Arriving in front of Lin Ling, Shangyi immediately bowed to Lin Ling. I'm envious. Seeing that Shangyi was so strong, but he still treated Lin Ling as his lord, the gods were envious. As for the people in Lei Gong's Grand Hall, they were very excited. Young Lin and the rest kept shooting glances at Shangyi. If not for the fact that there were too many people, they would have punched Shangyi's chest. This guy was finally back. Chapter 45-56. My lord, please forgive me for the delay. My lord. After bowing, Saint Yi straightened his back and smiled at Lin Ling. Although he was respectful to Lin Ling, there was a different aura about him. This was the result of broadening his horizons. Lin Ling also noticed this. He was happy for Saint Yi because he knew that the Eastern Emperor Tai Bell had something he wanted Lin Ling to do. Therefore, Saint Yi had become stronger so that he could fulfill his ancestors' wish. What is Saint Yi thinking? Why is the descendant of an ancient god so respectful to Lin Ling? Seeing Saint Yi and Lin Ling talking, the gods felt even more jealous. Saint Yi was someone that even the gods of Spirit Nation didn't dare to face. Such a powerful god actually bowed down to Lei Gong? What a joke. Moreover, what did Lin Ling do to deserve this? Sigh, if I had known that Saint Yi was so powerful, I would have treated him better. This jealousy included the Kurishin and the others. Saint Yi was only a trial taker back then. If they had treated him better back then, the situation would have been different. Without a doubt, with Saint Yi's return, the situation in the 9 states would be settled. Lei Gong, Lin Ling. Today's humiliation will be avenged in the future. At this moment, the demon sealer of the underworld coldly shouted. He formed an ancient seal with both hands and a bronze gate appeared behind him and slowly opened. You want to leave? Saint Yi turned around and pointed with a finger. Dong! The huge bronze bell in his other hand immediately let out a rumbling sound, forming an unstoppable force that shot towards the underworld demon sealer. Crash! However, before that force could reach them, the bodies of the underworld cavalry in the sky exploded, transforming into numerous fragments of armor that shot towards the copper bell without any fear of death. Pa! Pa! Of course, the underworld knights couldn't withstand the domineering power of the Eastern Emperor Tai Bell, and were completely destroyed. However, this bought enough time for the demon sealer of the underworld. Haha! Thunderlord Lin Ling. I'm here on behalf of the underworld. You're not qualified to kill me. The demon sealer of the underworld stood in the bronze gate and laughed contemptuously. Is that so? St. Guy's expression turned cold. He muttered an incantation and an ancient god emperor appeared behind him. This god's face was somewhat blurry, but it had a domineering aura. Rumble. Almost at the same time, the demon sealer inside the bronze gate trembled. An ancient bronze bell suddenly appeared above his head and fiercely pressed down on him. The appearance of this ancient bell came without any warning. It was as if no one in this world would be able to escape from the bell if it wanted to kill them. Underworld God, save me! The demon sealer of the underworld subconsciously roared. He had never imagined that St. Guy's demonic hand would still be able to reach this far after entering the bronze gate. Boom! After the ancient bell sealed the underworld demon sealer, handprints appeared on the surface of the bell. It was as if someone was outside the ancient bell and was constantly slapping at it. Every slap caused the ancient bell to vibrate a bit more. How dare you be so arrogant in my territory? Suddenly, a huge hand appeared from within the bronze gate and grabbed at the ancient bell, as if trying to break it. Dong! When the palm landed on the ancient bell, an unprecedented bell sound exploded. However, when the palm landed on the ancient bell, it couldn't make the ancient bell move even a little bit. Eastern Emperor Tai Bell. A low and hoarse voice came from within the bronze gate. Underworld God. In the distance, St. Guy looked up and narrowed his eyes. He had guessed the origin of this person. Eastern Emperor Tai's people, how dare you not give me face? I'll remember this. And Lei Gong Lin Ling, how dare you kill my people? I hope you don't fall into my hands. Otherwise, even if Lei Gong is here, I won't give him face. The ancient voice floated out again, filled with anger. As the number one god of the underworld, his strength was naturally stronger than the four great gods of the 9 prefectures. However, the 4 great gods of the 9 prefectures represented the entire 9 prefectures and the myriad of worlds. Therefore, the god of the underworld would usually give them some face. But now that face no longer existed. We'll meet again. Without waiting for Lin Ling to speak, the bronze gate slowly closed. Seeing this, Shangyi frowned. The ancient bell floated back to him. Upon closer inspection, there was nothing beneath the ancient bell. Under the suppression of the Donghuang Tai bell, the powerful demon sealer of the underworld had turned into a pool of blood. What a domineering Eastern Emperor Tai bell! The hearts of many gods instinctively trembled as they gazed at the ancient bell, and they didn't dare to utter a single word now. Killing the demon sealer of the underworld in one move and forcing Underworld God to leave with hatred. This wasn't someone the gods could resist. Great God of Ling Kingdom, do you think you can dominate this void after increasing your strength? At this time, St. Guy looked at the great god of Ling Kingdom and asked. Around the body of the Spirit Kingdom's great god, the ancient bell was still ringing, shattering the body of the Spirit Kingdom's great god. Hearing St. Guy's words, the great god of Ling Kingdom was still smiling, but the depths of his eyes were quietly flickering. This was because St. Guy's words had spoken his innermost thoughts. Originally, according to the strength of the 9 province void, after his breakthrough, he would be able to dominate everything. However, there were too many variables. There was another whitewater pure woman who had suddenly awakened. There was another St. Guy who had returned. This made him feel as if he had surfaced too quickly. He never would have thought that his host body of the world would one day be so afraid of Lei Gong. For a moment he fell silent and only smiled. However, anyone could see that his smile was somewhat forced. Lin Ling, well done. Under a distant mountain, an old man wearing a cloak nodded. He clenched his fists and appeared very excited. He was Lei Gong. He had long received news that the great god of Ling Kingdom was coming, and was going to attack the 4 gods. Previously, he had been worried about Lei Gong's great god of Ling Kingdom. However, he didn't expect that under the leadership of Lin Ling, great god of Lei Gong would become so powerful. As for St. Guy, he had transformed into an ancient great god. With the Donghuang bell in hand, even the great god of Ling Kingdom had to dodge. I never thought that St. Guy would have such a background. Everything is so surreal. Lei Gong muttered to himself. He was completely relieved about today's situation. The same thing was happening on the other side. A woman was hidden in the crowd, her eyes looking at the gods under the sky. When she finally saw that Lei Gong's great god of Ling Kingdom was fine, she smiled as if a heavy burden had been lifted off her shoulders. Lin Ling can't die in the hands of Ling Kingdom. He belongs to me. Chapter 45-57. The entire 9 provinces fell silent because of the rise of the Lei Gong Grand Hall. The cultivators from the 9 provinces all laughed because the Spirit Kingdom was the will of the world. Their mission was to destroy the world. But now, the Lei Gong Grand Hall was no longer afraid of the Spirit Kingdom. This meant that the Spirit Kingdom would no longer be able to destroy the world. No one expected that the 4 great gods' Grand Hall of Lei Gong Grand Hall would grow to such a level under Lin Ling's leadership. There were countless experts under its command. In fact, even Lin Ling was feeling emotional. He didn't expect that one day, the great god of the Spirit Kingdom would be suppressed to the point where he didn't even dare to talk back. It could be seen that after Shangyi's return, his strength had increased again. Back at the Divine Mountain, although Shangyi obtained the Eastern Emperor Bell, he couldn't suppress the great god of the Spirit Kingdom because he wasn't familiar with it. Of course, although the current Shangyi was suppressing the great god, Lin Ling still had a feeling that Shangyi wasn't strong enough to kill the great god of the Spirit Kingdom. This could be seen from the great god's appearance. If the great god knew that he was in danger, he would have left long ago instead of smiling in fear. However, just as the winds and clouds of the 9 prefectures gradually calmed down, an ancient gust of wind suddenly drifted over from afar. The gust of wind was like a huge vortex, and above the gust of wind, several figures stood there indifferently, looking indifferently at the entire 9 prefectures. This gust of wind seemed to have come out of nowhere. It also seemed to have torn through the void and came from another world. When this wild wind surged into the sky, it was as if time and space had been frozen. How lively! All the deities of the void of the 9 prefectures have come. After an indifferent voice, a power similar to the cycle of fate quietly enveloped the entire void of the 9 prefectures. In that instant, everyone discovered that their fates seemed to be controlled by someone. It was as if a large hand had ripped open their souls and was probing the depths of their souls. Their fates were able to see through their origins, past, present, and future. Even the gods were no exception. What a mysterious power! Is it the steps of God? The gods also sensed this power, and they immediately used various means to resist it. However, their divine power and innate talents were all ineffective against it. That power actually gave them a feeling of helplessness. Get out of my way! All of a sudden, a furious roar rang out. The great god of the Spirit Nation emitted a holy light, and the mysterious power that tried to enter his body was turned into ashes. Great Tao World's End Shackle Technique Scram. The Green Lotus Immortal Dominator seemed to know what kind of spell this was. His eyebrows moved, and the green lotus under him shone with green light, burning the invisible force. The deities all began to resist. Some of them struggled free from the bindings, but some of them didn't. Their faces were all filled with anxiety. Even though they didn't know what that energy was, as gods, they naturally didn't want to be controlled by someone else. Scram! On the other side of Lei Gong's hall, Lin Ling was the first to let out an angry roar. The stairs of wisdom poured out like a mirror, scattering all the mysterious forces that were trying to approach. On the other hand, treasure god Nanwufingyu was surrounded by snow and wind in a 5-meter radius, which also blocked the mysterious force. As for pure Lady Bai, the mysterious force naturally couldn't invade her body. Everyone, come closer to me! Lin Ling shouted to the crowd. Yu and the others heard him and immediately came closer. Wrapped in Lin Ling's stairs of wisdom, the mysterious force couldn't invade them at all. Who are you? Why are you suddenly attacking us? At this time, someone looked at the people above the gale. This person was Xian Wuba. Because he was still heavily injured, he couldn't break free from the bindings, and a mysterious force entered his body. He burning hearts people. On the gale, a man smiled faintly. He wore a Taoist robe, and his long hair was tied behind his head. He looked ancient and very mysterious. However, his strength was unfathomable. My name is Zhai Xing, and I'm here on orders. The man said again and then flicked a finger at Xian Wuba. You should be a god from the age of gods, right? Unfortunately, you're still a minor god. Boom! As soon as his voice fell, Xian Wuba's body twitched, and his face twisted. He screamed in pain, as if he was being tortured inhumanly. I'll give you a chance. Join us, Burning Heart, and you'll have a chance to live. The mysterious man called Zhai Xing said with a smile. Bullshit. Xian Wuba shouted angrily, but he was already thinking of retreating in his heart, because the other party was too strong, and his life was in their hands. However, his arrogant words were exchanged for death, and he didn't even have the chance to hesitate. The mysterious people obviously didn't have the patience to talk nonsense with Xian Wuba. After laughing, they waved their hands gently. Ah! Xian Wuba screamed, and his hands hugged his head tightly. Then he gradually quieted down. He floated in the void, motionless, as if he was completely dead. Even after his death, his expression was incomparably peaceful, as if he was sleeping. However, this kind of death without knowing why was the scariest. Even the gods didn't know how he died. At this time, everyone's face turned serious. Even the great gods of Spirit Nation squinted their eyes, surprised by the origin of this group of people. Burning Heart. Could it be that they were ancient great gods from the chaotic realm? Only Taoist Duobao had an unfathomable smile on his face. For a moment he didn't say anything and just watched quietly. There are only 2 missions for this trip. First, to take away all the world wills of the 9 states void. Second, to find a person called Lei Gong Lin Ling. Beside Zhai Xing, an old man said indifferently. Compared to Zhai Xing, he was more dignified and ruthless, as if the 9 states void were ants to him. Burning Heart. At this time a faint laugh slowly drifted over. It was Lin Ling's voice. Why is only Burning Heart here? What about White Mountain and Deng Xian? Don't tell me that your Burning Heart represents the entire White Mountain and Deng Xian. Lin Ling smiled calmly. Last time at the Sacred Mountain, he knew that White Mountain, Burning Heart, and Deng Xian were extremely ancient forces in the chaotic realm. Now only Burning Heart had appeared. Moreover, although he didn't know who was the next host body of the world's will, he seemed to be related to White Mountain and the 3 great divine gates. Could it be that behind the 3 great divine gates, there was actually a host body of the world's will? And it was an ancient primordial chaos god? Who are you? Hearing Lin Ling's words, the old man frowned, and a huge pressure swept over, suppressing Lin Ling. This was the strength of a mid-level deity. Whoosh! However, before the pressure could reach them, the sound of the celestial river could be heard. The rolling river suddenly appeared around the people in the Thunder God Great Hall, blocking the pressure. Chapter 45-58. A middle god? I didn't expect there to be a middle god in the void of the 9 prefectures. Isn't the great god of the Spirit Nation the most powerful? This change shocked the old man. But Zhai Xing suddenly laughed. Don't think that a middle god can protect you. If I, Zhai Xing, want you dead, it will be as easy as flipping my hand. This is the great Tao, and no one can surpass it. Is that so? Lin Ling didn't comment and nodded at Shangyi. Dong. Shangyi didn't say anything. The Eastern Emperor bell in his hand let out a deafening sound. It was as if everything was reborn. Crack. 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 The endless mysterious power that lingered in the void of the 9 prefectures stirred and revealed its true form. Upon closer inspection, it was actually a swastika. Dong! At this moment, the second bell rang, and all the swastikas shattered. The mysterious power hidden in the bodies of countless people in the void of the 9 prefectures began to stir. Dong! When the third bell rang, everyone felt their bodies relax, as if a chronic illness had been cured. The mysterious power that invaded their bodies had vanished. What is this? How can it break the great Tao horizon shackles? The faces of the gods above the gale changed. They didn't expect someone in the void of the 9 prefectures to be able to break their divine ability. For a moment they panicked. Lin Ling saw their changing emotions and sneered. Not only did I break your great Tao horizon shackles, but I also want to capture you. Shangyi attack. Dong! A huge ancient bell suddenly appeared above Zhai Xing and the others and suppressed them with a domineering force. Eastern Emperor Bell. Under the ancient bell, the old man's eyes trembled violently. He finally had a guess, but the more he confirmed it, the more shocked he was. At this moment, they were no longer as arrogant as before. Who are you? The old man stared at Shangyi. However, before Shangyi could speak, a voice suddenly drifted over. This person is the successor of the Eastern Emperor Tai. His name is Shangyi. Not long ago, I heard about his appearance in the Chaos Realm. I didn't expect him to be one of Lei Gong Linling's men. Crackle. In the distance, flames billowed into the sky as rolling clouds of fire surged over. Upon closer inspection, a huge palm leaf fan appeared there. On the palm leaf fan, a large number of gods had their hands behind their backs as they stepped on the palm leaf fan. Lantern Heart. Looking at this group of people, Zhai Xing and the others gritted their teeth. It was obvious that although they came from the same divine gate, their relationship was not very good. You can't even do such a small thing well. You're a disgrace to Burning Heart. If it weren't for the fact that we're kindred spirits, I would have taught you a lesson. A domineering voice came from the banana fan. The one who spoke was a Buddha. His brows twitched as the banana fan beneath his feet floated up and swept forward. Crash. Endless raging flames appeared and coiled around the raging winds, as if they wanted to help Zhai Xing and the others. However, the Donghuang bell in the sky was indeed a domineering chaos divine artifact. It was able to resist the raging flames. This change made the Buddha frown. He suddenly shouted at Zhai Xing and the others, "What are you waiting for?" The Donghuang bell is one of the 10 great chaos divine artifacts. Although that kid has rough control over it, with the power of a chaos divine artifact, it's not something we can resist. Alright. Under the raging winds, Zhai Xing and the other experts unleashed their full strength to resist the suppression of the Donghuang bell. However, after the two gods used their full strength, the Donghuang bell seemed to be enraged. It shook violently as an ancient door appeared on the Donghuang bell. It was majestic as if it had opened the door to the primordial world. This was the door to heaven. An earth-shattering power flowed out of the gate of the heaven realm. It was so terrifying that it could easily destroy the void universe. The Donghuang bell is said to be the most domineering. Those who don't have the bloodline of the Donghuang can't control it. Now that I've seen it, it's truly terrifying. The Buddha's expression turned grave as an arrow appeared in his hand. Although he was reluctant to part with it, he still gritted his teeth and threw it out. Hoi shooting sun arrow. The arrow was slow at first, but in the blink of an eye, its speed exploded as it shot towards the Donghuang bell with endless flames. Dong! The arrow landed on the Donghuang bell and a deafening sound was heard. Then the arrow shattered, causing the Buddha and the other gods' eyes to tremble violently. The Hoi shooting sun arrow was also an extremely rare treasure. It was also a chaos divine artifact. However, it could not withstand a single blow from the Donghuang bell. It would be a lie if the Buddha said that he was not heartbroken when such a precious treasure was destroyed. After all, the treasure did not belong to him. It was lent to him by a great god. Now that it was destroyed, he did not know how to explain it to his great god. However, the arrow was not useless. At least it caused the Donghuang bell to tilt a little. The mouth of the bell was not aimed at Zhai Xing and the others. At least it allowed Zhai Xing and the other experts to escape. Although the mouth of the Donghuang bell was tilted, the door to heaven on the ancient bell was still open. The destructive aura was even more terrifying. Saint Yi, retrieve the Donghuang bell immediately. Seeing this, Lin Ling hurriedly said. He had a feeling that Saint Yi could only use 1% of the Donghuang bell's power. Now that the destructive power was about to appear, the Donghuang bell would be out of Saint Yi's control. The final outcome would be the destruction of the void in all of Jiuzhou. In fact, that was indeed the case. At this moment, Saint Yi's face was a little pale, and he could not control the Donghuang bell. However, after hearing Lin Ling's words, he immediately nodded and muttered something. Ancient words formed in front of him. Then, he bit the tip of his tongue and spat a mouthful of blood on those words. The ancient words quietly bloomed with light, causing the Donghuang bell in the distance to sway continuously, as if it was unwilling to give up. In the end, due to the power of Saint Yi's bloodline, the door to heaven slowly closed. Thank goodness, Saint Yi said. With a wave of his right hand, the Donghuang bell flew back to him shakily. How terrifying. How could the Donghuang Tai allow that kid to control such a forbidden item? It's a pity that the Donghuang bell is not controlled by the Donghuang royal bloodline. Otherwise, I would have already taken it. the Buddha said enviously after witnessing the power of the Donghuang bell. When he thought about how he had wasted a chaos divine artifact, his heart bled again. There were a total of 10 sun-shooting arrows, and the Heart of Lanterns only had 2. Now he had destroyed one of them. According to legend, these descendants could easily kill any intermediate celestial with their sun-shooting arrows. If they were paired with Ho Yi's sun-shooting bow, they could even kill an upper celestial. If he had known that the Donghuang bell was so powerful, he would not have helped the Heart of Lanterns. Lei Gong Lin Ling. Then the Buddha glared at Lin Ling as if he wanted to tear Lin Ling into pieces. Chapter 45-59. The Buddha has decreed that we must take away Lei Gong Lin Ling today no matter what. Just as they were dumbfounded, more experts arrived in the distant sky. This time the experts who appeared were on foot, but their auras were monstrous. The person in the lead was wearing battle armor, and he seemed to be stronger than the Buddha because the Buddha's expression changed when he saw this person. The man in divine armor held a pagoda in his hand, looking majestic and awe-inspiring. Bai Shan's men. The Buddha and Zhai Xing said at the same time. Bai Shan, Burning Heart, and Deng Xian were all here for Lin Ling. This news shocked all the gods in the void of the 9 states. They couldn't understand how a mere Lin Ling could attract the attention of the ancient great gods of the Chaos Realm. Could it be that Lin Ling had a powerful background? On the contrary, Lin Ling was not surprised by this scene. Previously, there were experts from the chaotic realm who wanted to capture him on the Divine Mountain. Now that the 3 divine gates had appeared together, this was a very normal thing. Of course, Lin Ling wasn't worried. In his opinion, if the ancient great gods of the Chaos Realm wanted to capture him, there would be other ancient great gods who would help him. Just like in the country of eternity, there was a mysterious ancient great god who helped him through a life and death crisis. With the help of Xian V of the 9 heavens, Lin Ling knew that he, Lin Ling, was not a nameless person in the Chaos Realm. Sir, don't worry, there will be ancient great beasts to help you. While Lin Ling was thinking, Shangyi secretly transmitted a message to Lin Ling. Lin Ling nodded. Shangyi seemed to have left for the Chaos Realm, and he probably knew a lot of things. Lin Ling suddenly felt that Shangyi still treated him as an adult. One was because of old friendship, and the other was because someone had asked him to help him just like Xian V of the 9 heavens. Bai Shan, Burning Heart, and Deng Xian are all bullshit to me. Putting away his thoughts, Lin Ling looked at Bai Shan and the other experts with contempt. His expression was full of disdain. This guy, is he crazy? Upon hearing Lin Ling's torrent of abuse, all the gods were flabbergasted. Anyone could see that the gods of Bai Shan and the others could wipe out gods as easily as flipping their hands. Furthermore, they were from the primal chaos world, so how dare a trifling Lin Ling insult them? Lin Ling, as expected of Lei Gong. Just the thought of his violent temper was frightening. You're courting death. As expected, Bai Shan and the other elites were enraged. Any one of them could obliterate the entire Great Hall of Lei Gong, not to mention so many of them. Although the kid who controlled the Donghuang bell was also very powerful, they could tell that it was difficult for the kid to control the Donghuang bell now. Don't you feel ashamed? They thought that they were from the primal chaos realm and could strut around in the void of the 9 prefectures, but what happened in the end? None of us died. Instead, your treasures were destroyed and you're in such a sorry state. Are you guys invited here by the primal chaos realm to make fun of you? Lin Ling said again. Since there would be experts coming out sooner or later, there was no need for him to be afraid. He could scold them as much as he wanted to let them know that he, Lin Ling, was not that easy to catch. What a foul mouth. Lin Ling's words were not only vicious, but they also hit the nail on the head. Do you really think that I won't dare to kill you? The Buddha from the lamp heart was the most furious. Among the 3 divine gates, he had paid the greatest price. Even the Hou-Yi sun-shooting arrow was destroyed. Fan, come. He waved his right hand, and the flaming fan floated over. He looked at Lin Ling and swept it fiercely. Incomparably terrifying divine energy surged over. There were at least millions of them. This fan was capable of burning the heavens and the earth. Aha, I thought you were strong. This young master is standing right here. Let's see if you can kill me. Facing the terrifying divine energy of millions of divine energy, Lin Ling was secretly shocked, but he was not afraid. Yin Fo, don't kill him. After the Buddha attacked, Bai Shan and Burned Hearts people anxiously shouted. Although they hated Lin Ling to death, they still remembered the Buddha's order. They had to bring back Lin Ling alive. Now that the Buddha was angry, he might even kill Lin Ling. This guy really wants to see the world in chaos. Whitewater Pure Maiden shook her head as she stared at the incoming flames. At this moment she seemed to have a deeper understanding of Lin Ling. It turned out that this guy's arrogance towards her wasn't targeted at her, but rather, this guy was arrogant towards everyone. One had to know that there was more than one mid-celestial on the other side. There were two who were even stronger than her. If they really fought, she and Shangyi would not be able to protect Lin Ling. Especially Shangyi, who was obviously exhausted and could not control the Donghuang bell. Bai Shui took a step forward. Her robe fluttered, and she lightly slapped out with her palm. The water of the heavenly river overflowed, mixed with terrifying divine energy, and turned into a huge water god. This water god was incomparably strong, and its long hair was like a raging river. It was imposing without being angry, and it also slapped out with its palm. Rumble. As if the absolute power of water and fire collided, the entire void continued to explode. After the water and fire merged, terrifying steam turned into a mushroom cloud that soared into the sky. The temperature was so terrifying that even a lower celestial would be vaporized if they got close. Stinking woman, you have some skills. Wait for me to blow your heart out. The Buddha roared, and with both hands holding the huge fan, he swept it fiercely. As if the wind was supported by the fire, flames rushed through the heavenly river and enveloped Bai Shui's body, burning continuously. What a powerful talent. She's at least a second-grade mid-celestial. Bai Shui's eyes were solemn. A curtain of water flowed down from her body, constantly resisting the flames outside her body. It was obvious that she was having a hard time resisting the flames. However, in the eyes of the gods, they were secretly feeling lucky for Lin Ling. If not for Bai Shui by his side, Lin Ling would definitely not be able to escape death by now. Slaves, damn it. I want to have a dozen slaves like this. Thinking of how Lin Ling addressed Bai Shui as Bai Shui's pure maiden, the gods were envious. Today, Lin Ling did not show any strength at all. At most, he exchanged a blow with Patriarch Bull Demon, and all the external enemies were either dealt with by the slaves. How could they not be envious? Let's see how you block another move. The Buddha saw that Bai Shui was having a hard time resisting and sneered. He first stared at Lin Ling, wanting to see Lin Ling's panicked and regretful expression. However, it did not matter if he did not see it. Who knew that Lin Ling was not flustered at all? Instead, he had his hands behind his back with a calm expression. Die for me. The Buddha was furious. His hands madly waved the fan. Now he wanted to see how Lin Ling blocked it. Lin Ling, did you know that I would come? You're so calm. You really think I'm a hired thug? At this moment a powerhouse finally arrived. A sword slashed down. The light was resplendent. It did not seem to be terrifying, but it revealed its sharpness and actually cut the ferocious fan in half. In the blink of an eye, beside the Buddha, a handsome man in a Taoist robe held a sword with one hand and hung it over the Buddha's neck. Chapter 45-60. When the man appeared, all the gods fell silent. This was because none of them had sensed his arrival. Even the pagoda-bearing general hadn't sensed his arrival. As for the Buddha whose fan had been cut in half, his eyes were trembling. Compared to the others, he was more aware of the strength of the man in front of him. For a moment, the void of the 9 provinces seemed to churn with monstrous waves. Among everyone, only Lin Ling recognized the man because he was the Taoist pure son he had met once in the Kingdom of Eternity. He was also known as the Sword Ancestor Lu Dongbin. During the era of the gods, he was known as Heavenly Venerate Wondrous Tao. Lin Ling, long time no see. However, you should have guessed that an ancient god would come, right? That's why you seem so calm. The man's long hair fluttered elegantly as he looked at Lin Ling with a faint smile. I was only guessing. If no savior had come, I wouldn't have been able to escape death. Lin Ling said helplessly. However, Taoist Pure Sun shook his head because he didn't believe Lin Ling's words. This was because Lin Ling had been helped several times by the ancient gods of the primal chaos realm. Unless Lin Ling was an idiot, How could he not have noticed? Therefore, Lin Ling must have guessed that an ancient god would come to the primal chaos realm this time. In that case, the person who helped Lin Ling would definitely come as well. So he is the true ancient god. Watching Lin Ling and the man talk, the various gods had their own guesses. Today had been full of twists and turns. In the end, the ancient god turned out to be a sword immortal who seemed ordinary but had a sharp edge. Taoist pure sun. At the same time, the pagoda-bearing general also spoke in a low voice. His expression became more solemn. Clearly, he recognized the former and knew how powerful he was. Since the birth of the will of the world, the age of gods has experienced 3 great calamities. Under these 3 great calamities, there are not many gods left from the ancient era. Especially after the twilight of the gods, only 10% of the gods were left. Now, most of them are in the primal chaos realm. I am very surprised that the successor of the protector of the cult has joined the Buddha god's side. Taoist Pure Sun said as he looked at the tower-bearing general. Be it Buddhism or Taoism, they will all return to the same place. The general who carried the pagoda laughed. Taoist Pure Sun nodded and continued. I only have one purpose in coming here today. Now that the primal chaos realm is being devoured day by day, the storm of the world consciousness is making a comeback. Our position is in jeopardy, so I want to take them in and see if there's any chance of turning things around. Are they qualified? Speaking of that place, General Tower's expression changed. He frowned and said, You should know that not just anyone is qualified to enter that place. Takes a lot of effort to enter. Therefore, those who can enter must have absolute qualifications. Even I don't have such qualifications. Goo. If I say they do, then they do. Taoist Pure Sun withdrew his sword and smiled. You only represent the people behind you. It doesn't mean that the entire chaos realm will agree. The tower-bearing general snorted coldly. I know that, but what if I use the key to the 8th level of the 8 gods' heavenly palace to exchange for it? Taoist Pure Sun suddenly said something that would shock everyone to death. The key to the 8th level of the 8 gods' heavenly palace. The pagoda-bearing general's eyes narrowed. And so did Buddha and Star-plucking Star. They all looked at Taoist Pure Sun as if to ask how he knew the key to the 8th level. If you agree, I have a way to take out the key. You should know that this key only appears in the void of the 9 continents. The big shots of the chaos realm can't enter the void of the 9 continents, so they can't obtain the key. Now that I'm taking the initiative to hand it over, I'm sure the big shots behind you will be very happy. They'll help me this time. Taoist Pure Sun said again. At this time, the eyes of the generals flickered as if they were contemplating. Meanwhile, Lin Ling and the others were listening quietly. They had heard some news. The primal chaos realm was not as good as they had imagined. It was chaotic there. As if there was a powerful force devouring the entire primal chaos realm. All the gods were powerless to protect themselves. Perhaps this was the reason why the chaos realm had its sights set on the void of the 9 continents. However, for some unknown reason, the primordial beasts of the chaos realm couldn't casually enter the void of the 9 continents. It could be assumed that Taoist Pure Sun's group had spent a lot of effort to come here. After 3 waves of calamity, only 10% of the gods were left. Lin Ling thought. He didn't expect the chaos realm's calamity to be even greater than the void of the 9 continents. I agree on behalf of Bai Shan, but there are 2 conditions. First, we have to take away Lei Gong Lin Ling. Second, we have to bring back all the world wills in the void of the 9 continents. At this moment, General Toda finally came to a decision. I agree on behalf of Burning Heart. I agree on behalf of Deng Xian. Buddha and Zhai Xing nodded as well. We can't agree to either of these conditions. Right now, all the gods in the chaos realm are paying attention to the world wills. If we leave them in the void of the 9 continents, we can still observe their every move. If we bring them back to the chaos realm, the consequences will be unimaginable. If the world wills are devoured, the storm will be even more terrifying. Taoist Pure Sun firmly refused. Damn it! General Tower and the others cursed inwardly. Unfortunately, they weren't as strong as Taoist Pure Sun and couldn't resist at all. Buddha had no choice but to comply with Taoist Pure Sun's wishes. However, he immediately said, Then can we take away Lei Gong Lin Ling? That won't do either. Taoist Pure Sun still shook his head. Why? Lin Ling isn't a world will's host. He's just a minor god in the void of the 9 continents. Since when did you, Daoist pure son, have the right to control him? Zhai Xing narrowed his eyes and said furiously, "This wouldn't do, that wouldn't do." They hadn't accomplished a single goal in coming to the void of the 9 continents. Although I don't have the right to control Legong Linling, you don't seem to have the right either. Moreover, if you can answer me, what do you want Linling to do? If your answer is good, I'll let him go. Daoist pure son looked indifferently at the 3 divine gates. The 3 divine gates opened their mouths, but they couldn't answer. This was because they had only received an order. In reality, they didn't know why they had to take away Linling. Of course, they were still unwilling. However, at this moment, a mysterious fluctuation entered their ears. Their eyes flickered, but they all nodded in the end. Fine, we only want the key to the 8th floor of the 8 Gods' heavenly palace. If you hand it over, we agree to open that place and let people in. Chapter 45-61. Since that's the case, I'll agree on behalf of my side. Now that all of you have agreed, we still need the other primordial beasts to agree. Fortunately, all of them agreed before I came here. In the end, only you guys are left. Daoist pure son nodded and walked towards Linling's side. Linling, I want all of you to enter a secret realm. This secret realm has existed since the beginning of the world. It's one of the primordial chaos, but when the calamity of the worlds will arrived, it collapsed and was maintained by the life force of a primordial god. In the end, that primordial god fused with the secret realm. This secret realm is of great importance, and none of you can miss it. Daoist pure son looked at Linling's group and said, however, it's very difficult to enter because that primordial beast is already asleep. If you want to enter, you'll need the power of several primordial gods to open it. Once you enter, you'll be able to enter and exit as you please. Once you enter, the realm will recognize you, so the qualification to enter is extremely precious. Since the ancient era, countless descendants of gods have entered. The eyes of Linling's group flickered at Daoist pure son's words. A secret realm that had existed since the ancient era, controlled by a primordial beast? Most importantly, countless descendants of gods had entered the secret realm until now. Could it be that Daoist pure son wanted them to enter so that they could increase their strength? What's the name of this secret realm? Linling immediately asked. The Dao realm. Daoist pure son took a deep breath and said solemnly. It was clear that this secret realm was more mysterious than they had imagined. Okay, I agree. Linling nodded and looked at Yuyu's group. Yuyu's group nodded as well. This time the Dao realm was open because of the key to the 8th floor of the 8 Gods' celestial palace. You must seize this opportunity and enter as many people as you can. There are no conditions for this. The Dao realm only restricts those from the primordial chaos, such as me and them. Daoist pure son continued as he stared at Linling, his eyes flickering. However, Linling heard Daoist pure son's voice. Linling, the Dao realm also has the world's will. You must be careful. Bai Shan's group is a bit strange. You must be careful of them as well. Linling's expression didn't change as he quietly replied, although I don't know why they're looking for me, I have a feeling that they're related to the world's will. What? Daoist pure son was astonished. Why are you so sure? He asked solemnly. Back when I was at the foot of the sacred mountain, I obtained the stone tablet that was the host of the world will. However, when I wanted to investigate it, a powerful force destroyed the stone tablet. Before the stone tablet was destroyed, I vaguely saw the words White Mountain. This was interpreted by the great gods of the spirit nation. So that's how it is. Daoist pure son's eyes flickered with an even deeper graveness as he continued. The master behind the 3 divine gates is no small matter. Without any evidence, we don't dare to rashly investigate. Don't tell anyone else about this. I can only tell you that the primordial chaos is currently in the middle of a storm, being swept by the storm of the world will. The ancient giant gods are fighting against it. This has caused them to be unable to leave. However, one of the ancient giant gods told us that he saw the future, and you are the key to it. This is also the reason why we're helping you. Although we don't know what demonic power you have to make that primordial god so certain, this is all we know. However, you said that the 3 divine gates of White Mountain are related to the world's will. Perhaps they have sensed something and wanted to take you away. Lin Ling inwardly nodded at Taoist Pure Sun's words. Only now did he know how terrifying the worlds will host was. The great god of Spirit Nation was only a strand of hair. The powerful worlds will host had already invaded the ancient era. Right, I have the key to the 8th floor of the 8 gods' celestial palace. Should I give it to them? Lin Ling said in a low voice. What? You also have a key? Taoist Pure Sun was shocked once more. The key he handed over before was clearly not Lin Ling's, but he immediately shook his head. No need. The 8th floor of the 8 gods' celestial palace has a stone tablet recording the next worlds will host. This matter is of great importance. If we can find out who the host is, we can completely control it. As for the key you left behind, I reckon it's different from the other key. The key I'm talking about came from Taoist myriad treasures. Okay, Lin Ling replied. He didn't expect that although the primordial god didn't interfere, he had been controlling the worlds will hosts all this time, including the great god of Spirit Nation. Okay, prepare the people. Remember, your strength must reach the realm of gods. After entering, if you can't hold on, you can immediately withdraw from the Tao realm and enter again after your strength has increased. Taoist Pure Sun finally said this before slowly walking towards General Tower Bearing and the others. Although they were quietly waiting, they seemed to be secretly chatting. Taoist Pure Sun arrived in front of them and nodded. He then looked at Taoist Myriad Treasures and said, Taoist Myriad Treasures, hand over your key. With so many ancient great gods here, I don't dare to disobey. Taoist Myriad Treasures had been quietly waiting. He smiled and waved his right hand. A ray of light fell into Taoist Pure Sun's hand and turned into a pentagram-like key. Lin Ling carefully looked at it and confirmed that it was different from the key he had. But then, he glanced at Taoist Myriad Treasures and suddenly had a feeling that Taoist Myriad Treasures seemed to have foreseen this scene long ago. As such, he felt that Taoist Myriad Treasures was even more mysterious. Looking at Taoist Pure Sun, he immediately made a few copies of the key and threw them to General Tower Bearing and the others. Let's begin. General Tower Bearing took the key and nodded. At the same time, a huge whirlpool began to appear in the sky. Wind and clouds surged and it was very terrifying. The whirlpool was so big that it seemed to cover the entire sky. As the ferocious dark clouds churned, it gave people the feeling that they were going to devour the entire universe. Even though the vortex didn't emit any sound, both the gods and the cultivators felt their hearts rumble at this moment, and a wave of majestic might silently envelop their entire bodies. What kind of power is this? Someone muttered, his voice trembling. Unfortunately, no one answered him. They only stared at the sky. Although they were afraid, they were unwilling to part with their eyes. It was as if the whirlpool had a magical power that attracted thousands of gazes. Chapter 45-62. A new wave of energy arrived. It was as if a pair of large hands were tearing apart the vortex, causing the originally quiet vortex to start churning once again. The vortex also became bigger and bigger, as if it was a heavenly eye. Plop! Plop! Although the vortex was still silent, the rumbling in people's hearts grew louder. Open the way. At this time another voice sounded. It was dignified and divine. The vortex in the sky grew bigger and the rolling sea of clouds seemed to have no end. Puff! The warriors of the 9 states began to vomit blood and retreat with pale faces. They tried to leave this terrifying scene, but no matter where they went, they could not escape the huge vortex in the sky. Open the way. But at this time another voice sounded. Open the way. Next, several voices sounded in succession. At this moment, those who did not have the strength of a god vomited blood and retreated with pale faces. However, although this kind of pressure was enormous, it was not life-threatening. In fact, under this kind of pressure, some cultivators were even able to smoothly break through to the next realm. Of course, the prerequisite was that they had to withstand the pressure of the heavenly Tao. Rumble. When the huge vortex stopped growing, a rumbling sound was finally heard. Endless gales blew down from the sky. If one were to stand in the myriad worlds at this moment, they would be horrified to find that a huge eye had appeared in the sky above the 9 states. Lin Ling, go in. Taoist Pure Sun's voice came from the gale. Remember, the moment you enter the Tao realm, you will also be an ancient god. Okay, Lin Ling looked at the people behind him and did not say anything else. Whoever wanted to enter would follow. He took the lead and shot toward the vortex in the sky. From afar it looked like an arrow shooting toward the Tao realm. But soon a beautiful tail appeared behind him. It was the people of Lei Gong's palace. Can we also enter the Tao realm? The eyes of the Kurishin and the others flickered. Seeing Taoist Pure Sun nod, they led the other gods and shot toward the vortex in the sky. Behind them the eyes of the other gods flickered and they also rushed toward the sky. They did not want to miss this ancient opportunity because they had also heard Taoist Pure Sun say that after entering the Tao realm, they would also be ancient gods. Humph! The Spirit Nation Great God let out a cold snort. He didn't enter but left angrily. He had a feeling that he couldn't enter the Tao realm. Great God of Spirit Nation, it's not hard for you to enter. But do you dare? Taoist Pure Sun suddenly laughed as he watched the God of the Spirit Kingdom leave. However, the God of the Spirit Kingdom sneered at Taoist Pure Sun and didn't enter in the end. Cunning indeed. The Taoist narrowed his eyes. With his strength he could kill this god on the spot, but he didn't do so because he had a feeling that this god wouldn't die. This was only an avatar left behind. Moreover, before he came here, the ancient giant god had also told him that the great god of Spirit Kingdom could not die yet. This was because if he died, it would be another world will host that would devour him, and that world will host would become even stronger. However, even though the great god didn't enter, the Spirit Kingdom's worship majestically soared into the sky. In the beginning, the 4 spirit gods were afraid that Taoist Pure Sun would stop them. However, to their surprise, the Taoist only smiled and didn't stop them at all. This allowed them to no longer have any misgivings and directly soared into the sky. Although the Tao realm is a place of fortune, it is also a place of danger. Perhaps the Spirit Kingdom will die even faster if they enter. They didn't see Taoist Pure Sun smile and he secretly said to himself, "Come, let's go as well." More and more gods soared into the sky. Of course, there was no lack of martial artists who wanted to reach the heavens in a single step. Unfortunately, before they could even get close to the huge vortex, the gales tore them apart. Sure enough, the minimum requirement to enter the Tao realm was to be a god. Moreover, even at this level, it was still very difficult because the closer they got to the vortex, the more ancient power rushed over as if it wanted to tear them apart. Of course, there were many of them. After joining forces, they were able to stop the terrifying vortex. Lin Ling was in the lead, so the pressure he faced became even greater. However, what shocked Lin Ling was that he didn't need to fuse with his innate talents. When the gale-like power rushed over, it seemed to have encountered a force inside his body and immediately weakened by a lot. It was an innate talent. He couldn't help but look back and found that outside of Pure Maiden Bai, Treasure God Nanwu Fengyu and the others, as long as they had intermediate god talents, the pressure was continuously weakening. "You come close to me," Lin Ling then said to the people behind him. Yu and the others didn't have the talent of a medium god, while Lin Ling had the talent of several medium gods. Thus he was able to block those storms for them. "Lord Lei Gong, I can't go in." At this time, an unwilling voice came from Lei Gong's palace. Upon closer inspection, many experts were stopped. If they took another step forward, they would immediately be in danger. "You guys go back first." Seeing this, Lin Ling could only say regretfully. Many people were eliminated in Lei Gong's palace, but so were those below the god level. They hovered in the sky, looking at those who were getting closer and closer to the vortex, their eyes full of envy and unwillingness. They had heard that the opening of the Tao realm required the power of several ancient gods. If they missed this chance, they would never have another chance in their lives. Moreover, if they were lucky enough to enter the Tao realm, they could come out and leave at any time. "Alright, we're going in." Lin Ling, who was closest to the giant vortex, looked up at the sky, then said to Yu and the others. At this moment, Lin Ling's heart was filled with joy and excitement, as if he had completely stepped into the most ancient world of gods. Yu and the others nodded excitedly. They had finally reached the end of the entire era, the end of the entire universe. Whoosh! Under Lin Ling's lead, the few of them disappeared into the rolling vortex as if sinking into mud. Behind them, Treasure God Nanwu Fengyu and the others were also very excited as they shot into the vortex. From afar, the scene was incomparably spectacular. Countless gods were pursuing the great Tao of the universe, rushing into the Tao realm like a carp crossing a river. From this moment on, the strongest gods of the entire void universe have all disappeared. The warriors in the distance sighed as they looked at the giant vortex. Then, they also looked forward to seeing how the gods would change after the return of the Tao realm. Would they really have the strength of ancient gods? It's finally begun. Chapter 45-63. The billowing smoke was like smoke, and as far as the eye could see, everything was hazy. The visibility was limited to a range of 10 meters. Everyone was at a loss, as if they were running between life and death. If they couldn't get out of this haze, perhaps they would walk all the way to death. Even though Lin Ling's soul force was powerful and his range of vision was much wider than the others, Lin Ling could only see the thick haze beyond 10 meters. What the hell is this place? Nanwu Fengyu's gloomy voice came from behind. Although he was from the Pantheon era, he was still a fledgling in the face of the ancient era. Lin Ling looked back and saw that there weren't many people left. Fortunately, his big brother and the others were here. Even Nine Lanternfish and Luchan were here. This made him nod. This should be a primordial chaos. Suddenly, White Maiden frowned and said, "This is the cloud layer formed when the primordial chaos first opened." "I see." Everyone nodded and looked at White Maiden with reverence because she was the only intermediate god in Lei Gong's hall. "Lin Ling, thank you." White Water Goddess looked at Lin Ling and said, "Don't worry. This is due to your fortune." Lin Ling naturally knew what White Water Pure Maiden meant by thank you. This was because if it wasn't for Lin Ling, she wouldn't have had the chance to enter this Tao realm. The Tao realm is now filled with ancient gods from several eras. If we, the latecomers, enter, I'm afraid there will be a lot of trouble. So, after entering, if you feel that it's difficult to stay, then leave immediately and enter again when you're stronger. Lin Ling said to the crowd and continued to move forward. However, to Lin Ling's surprise, the experts of Ling Nation, the 10 orthodoxies, and even the Green Lotus immortal ruler had all disappeared. They were probably in another direction. "We're here." Suddenly Lin Ling cried out in alarm. His soul force sensed that the mysterious mist was already dissipating. After he spoke, he finally rushed out of the misty land. Below him was an ancient and vast land. Ancient trees towered into the sky, and rolling rivers flowed. Black backs could be vaguely seen, which then sank into the yellow river water. They seemed to be some ancient divine beasts. In the middle of the torrential river there was a huge island. The island was lush and verdant, densely packed with ancient trees. When the wind blew, the ancient trees swayed, as if a sea of trees was rolling. As far as the eye could see, there was an endless expanse of land outside the island. It was just that it was separated by a terrifying yellow ancient river. This is the Tao realm? Beside Lin Ling, everyone was also shocked. This aura is from the ancient era. White Water Maiden suddenly became excited. Although she was a figure from the primordial era, she had mostly cultivated in the era of the gods. Now she had finally found that feeling of the primordial era. "Let's go down," Lin Ling said to everyone. However, he also sensed that there were many experts hidden in the dense forest below, and those experts must be the gods of the primordial era. Bang bang bang. However, just as they were about to charge down, all of them suddenly collided with a barrier, and it was difficult for them to advance any further. "What's going on?" The young Qilin was shocked and tried again, but it was still blocked there. Ha ha ha. At the same time, a lot of laughter came from the dense forest below. It's been a long time since someone came. I wonder which ancient great god's successor they are. I don't know. These people are very unfamiliar. The last time I returned to the Chaos Realm, I saw that the Chaos Realm was being swept by the storm of the world will, causing more and more successors to enter the Tao Realm. These people might be sent by some divine sects. Now if you want to enter the Tao Realm, you have to join forces with several ancient great gods. It's not as good as it used to be. These people who can enter here are probably not simple. Hee hee, whether or not they can enter depends on their abilities. Calm voices sounded from the ground. Under the vast and endless dense forest, countless gods stood there looking at the sky. They were dressed differently. Some were simple and some were wearing armor. They looked like gods from several eras. They stared at the sky with disdain. Although they knew that those who could enter the Tao realm must have a strong background, compared to ancient great gods like them, they were weak in every aspect. Other things aside, just the fact that they had cultivated here for tens of millions of years was enough to surpass this batch of newcomers. There's a good show to watch. These people can't enter. A man with a sword on his back smiled faintly. He was wearing a Taoist robe, a Taoist hat, and a peachwood sword at his waist. He was very mysterious. Among that group there are a few who are not weak. The rest should be followers. On the other side, a few beautiful women stood under a tree. They held flower petals in their hands and gently sniffed them. Then they said, "Those who can enter here are not strong, but their backgrounds are definitely not simple. If they are not the reincarnation of ancient great gods, then they are the descendants of ancient great gods. Generally speaking, most of them are gods who died after the 3 apocalyptic catastrophes. Of course, there are some exceptions who did not participate in the War of the Worlds back then. Ancient great gods can still enter. No matter what, these people are newcomers. They are not strong. These women were not old. One of them was even 15 or 16 years old. However, the ancient great gods nearby did not dare to underestimate them, because everyone knew that these 7 women were not weak. It was said that in their previous lives, they were the 7 fairies of the heavenly lake. Among these 7 beautiful women, 3 of them were reincarnations, and the remaining 4 were descendants. Although the Tao realm does not require great strength to enter, it would be a joke if you can't even enter the Tao realm. The man with the peachwood sword at his waist at the beginning said again. Suddenly, an older beauty among the 7 beautiful women laughed and said, "Maoshan, immortal ancestor, don't tell me you want to defeat them and get a Tao realm fragment. Isn't that what you guys are thinking too?" The man turned his head to look at the 7 of them. According to the rules of the Tao realm, any newcomer that arrives can be defeated by the older generation and exchanged for some Tao realm fragments. Of course, if we can help the newcomer enter the Tao realm, we will obtain more Tao realm fragments, and these Tao realm fragments are, this fragment is formed by an ancient great god and a Tao realm cultivator. It is extremely rare. You don't want to miss it, right? The woman snorted and said, "Although we don't get many Tao realm fragments, I think there are many ancient great gods who are eyeing the newcomers covetously. Moreover, I think that the ancient great gods work together to open the Tao realm, so there are probably many gods who entered this time." Chapter 45-64. In the Leigong Hall, other than Lin Ling and a few others, no one had noticed the gods in the forest. "What's going on? Second brother, why can't we enter?" Sakura had tried a few times, but he still couldn't enter. He couldn't help but worry. Lin Ling, quickly think of a way. Young Master Yao looked at Lin Ling and said. Not only had Lin Ling surpassed him, but he was also more knowledgeable than him. He was the only pillar of support in the Leigong Hall. Lin Ling looked at Pure Maiden Bai, Treasure God Nanwu Fengyu, and even the giant ghost. However, the 3 of them shook their heads. They couldn't understand this strange scene because they had used all kinds of methods, but they couldn't find anything. Lin Ling also used his soul force to investigate. To his surprise, he couldn't find anything either. Everyone spread out and look. Maybe there's an entrance. After a while, Lin Ling ordered everyone. Although they had just entered the Tao realm, it was inevitable that they would encounter danger. However, it seemed that there were some taboos blocking them. This meant that the danger would also be blocked. Everyone nodded and spread out to search. Pure Maiden Bai, Treasure God Nanwu Fengyu, we have 2 hours as the time limit. Go as far as you can and see if you can find the entrance. After 2 hours, no matter what happens, everyone must come back. Lin Ling said to Pure Maiden Bai and the others. Okay. Pure Maiden Bai and the others nodded. Then Lin Ling also sped up and dashed in one of the directions. After an hour, Lin Ling rushed out of the island and hovered in the sky. Below him was a rolling yellow river. Roar! Suddenly, a huge crocodile rushed out from the river and bit at Lin Ling. Looking at its momentum, even Lin Ling wouldn't be able to resist it with all his strength. Not only was this ancient crocodile huge, but its skin was also filled with sharp bumps. Although its godly energy did not seem strong, what was terrifying was its fleshly body. With Lin Ling's many years of experience in cultivating his fleshly body, this ancient crocodile's fleshly body had reached the power of 50 million worlds. However, just as the giant mouth was about to swallow Lin Ling, an invisible force in the sky stopped the giant crocodile. Ka. Even when the giant crocodile bit the sky, its teeth, which were as hard as mountains, were all shattered. When he looked at the sky again, he found that it was completely unaffected. Just as I expected, any danger is blocked. However, this primordial giant crocodile is too ferocious. I'm afraid it has a lifespan of tens of millions of years. Lin Ling secretly wiped his sweat and continued forward. Roar! At this moment, another giant crocodile appeared. Without a doubt, it was blocked by the mysterious force again. Next, more and more giant crocodiles rushed out of the water, stirring up the wind and clouds. It was hard to imagine that if Lin Ling did not have the mysterious force blocking his feet, he would definitely be swallowed alive. This place is so big. It's just a river around the island. It looks small from the sky, but if you want to cross this river, you will need to spend a lot of time. Lin Ling said with a frown as he gradually got used to the giant crocodile under his feet. After calculating the time, he estimated that he would only be able to walk out of the river in an hour. He did not think that he would be able to find any entrance. It seems that I have to go to the square prison and ask. After shaking his head, Lin Ling looked around. Seeing that there was no one around, he immediately took out the square stone tablet. Do any of you know the Tao realm? After entering the prison, Lin Ling said to all the prisoners. The square prison was silent for a moment. Then one by one, the prisoners came to the front of the prison and looked at Lin Ling. Sir, if you know the Tao realm, you will let us out. A devil-like prisoner laughed and said. You guessed it right. Lin Ling sneered and formed a seal with both hands. Then crackling sounds came from the cell. The great calamity of the prison had arrived. The insufferably arrogant demonic god was wreaked havoc until he spat out green smoke. Sir, you are ruthless. I only said one sentence. Do you want to serve me with the great calamity? The demon god cried and said. He was a great god from ancient times, but after being imprisoned his life was worse than a dog's. Whoever says more nonsense will end up like him. Lin Ling ignored him and continued to say coldly. All the prisoners did not dare to talk nonsense. Sir, I know. I know too. Suddenly an aged voice rang out. It came from the top floor of the prison, and the prisoners locked up there, whether it was strength or background, were even more terrifying. Lin Ling immediately went upstairs and pointed at an old man. This old man had a head of red hair. According to the records, he was called the Rainbow Cloud Ancestor. He was a primordial giant god from ancient times. He was imprisoned because he lost a great battle with another primordial giant god. What do you want? Lin Ling looked at the old man and asked. Sir, please find me a successor. He is called the Rainbow Cloud Ancestor. I haven't seen him for many years and I miss him. The old man said with a smile. That's all? Lin Ling said coldly. That's all. As long as the child knows that I am still alive, it will be enough. Let him not worry about me too much. The old man nodded. Child? Isn't he called the Rainbow Cloud Ancestor? He is already a Rainbow Cloud Ancestor. How can he be a child? Lin Ling frowned. Although he is called Rainbow Cloud Ancestor, he is still a child in my eyes. When he was young, I was beside the river Styx. The Rainbow Cloud Ancestor smiled and said with nostalgia. Stop. Lin Ling had to interrupt him and said with a frown. Let me ask you. After entering the Tao realm, why is there a force stopping us from entering? Sir, that is the primordial aura. The Rainbow Cloud Ancestor explained. This is the strand of primordial aura that did not dissipate after the primordial world was formed. Later on, it was refined by an ancient giant god and merged with the Tao realm. In order to open the primordial aura, one needs to have the body of a mid-god divine embryo and activate their talent. If one has the ability to activate the primordial aura, the door will open. Of course, if one has a mid-god divine embryo or above, one person will be enough. Or if 10 mid-gods work together, even if it is just a low-god divine embryo, they will be able to open the primordial aura. I see. Lin Ling nodded. The primordial aura is formless and colorless. It can only be seen by one's talent. As for how to use it, I can give you some pointers. After the rainbow cloud ancestor finished speaking, he stretched out his right hand and a ball of light floated out of the cell. Lin Ling caught it and scanned it with his soul force. Immediately, he knew how to use the divine embryo to check the primordial aura. Where is your disciple, the rainbow cloud ancestor? Lin Ling asked. That child. At the mention of the rainbow cloud ancestor, the old man's face turned doting and his eyes were filled with nostalgia. Stop, stop, stop. I didn't hear you talking about the past. Get to the point. Seeing that the old man was going to nag again, Lin Ling stopped him immediately. He imagined the two old men cherishing each other. One of them looked at the other with doting eyes and called him child with tears in his eyes. Lin Ling felt goosebumps all over his body. Chapter 45-65. No wonder you came to me on your own initiative. You are in the Tao realm. But according to the years, your ancestor Red Cloud should be from the same era as you. How could he enter the Tao realm? Lin Ling touched his chin and asked curiously. Haha, that child did not participate in the War of the World Will, so the Tao realm did not stop him from entering. The ancestor laughed. But you must be careful. The Tao realm gathers the ancient gods of 3 eras. If you do not have the corresponding strength, it will be difficult for you to enter the Tao realm. By the way, gods won't die in the Tao realm. Will not die. Lin Ling was shocked. The Tao realm is a place for the reincarnated gods of ancient times to grow up. Of course, the ancient gods wouldn't let the gods perish. Of course, that's only relative. It's said that gods only have 3 chances. When they are on the brink of death, the Tao light will protect them, and they can save their life. However, I've heard that some gods can only save their lives 4 times, while some can only save their lives 5 times. Moreover, for ancient gods who have died many times, if we use the previous method to stimulate their talents, we can roughly see it clearly. The old man continued. So it is the help of the Tao realm. Lin Ling finally understood. He felt strange. How could there be an immortal god? He asked again, then in the Tao realm, how did the ancient gods grow? Tao realm shard. Everyone who enters the Tao realm has a Taoist medallion, which is a Taoist medallion formed from primordial chaos. You can use the Taoist medallion to trade treasures with people in the Tao realm. Furthermore, the Taoist medallion contains instructions from the ancient megagods. Once completed, one can also obtain the fragments of the Tao realm. Now the ancient gods are fighting against the storm of the world will in the chaos realm. They cannot leave, so they let the ancient gods do things for them. Moreover, there is a Tao Tower in the Tao realm. This Tao Tower opens at a certain time. Every time it opens, there will be an earth-shattering event. I remember that the last time it was opened, all the ancient great gods fought with the will of the world, and the will of the world was forced to retreat to the primal chaos realm. There are even rumors that the ultimate peak of the Tao Pagoda is to become the master of the universe and completely possess this Tao realm. The old man continued, in truth, there are still many mysteries about the Tao realm. However, I don't know much about it. If you want to know more, you can look for Old Third Ghost. Rumor has it that he knows a bit about the Tao realm, and was one of the first ancient gods to enter the Tao realm. You should have been locked up here for a long time. Why are you so familiar with the Tao realm? Lin Ling asked again. My lord, how could we not have some tricks up our sleeves when we've reached our level of strength? Although they've been imprisoned, there are still some people in the outside world. Ancestor Hong Yun immediately said with a smile. Hearing this, Lin Ling instantly frowned and said with a smile that was not a smile. Oh, this means that if I leave the prison, you can let those people kill me. This is an extremely simple matter. My lord, I wouldn't dare. Although we have some people in the outside world, they are all scattered in the primal chaos realm and the Tao realm. Some of those people are successors, some are doppelgangers, and their strength is not strong at all. Moreover, we only communicate through some thoughts. Takes a lot of time and effort. For so many years, I've only spoken less than 100 words with that doppelganger in the outside world. Unfortunately, that doppelganger died in the end. Otherwise, I wouldn't have to ask you to find that child Hong Yun. The old man hurriedly explained. As for Old Third Ghost, he's about the same. It takes 100,000 years for the people in the outside world to transmit a thought to him. Now that he's been trapped for so long, I'm afraid that the people in the outside world have died. However, Old Third Ghost should be very familiar with some of the places in the Tao realm. After all, he's one of the earliest people to enter the Tao realm. Moreover, I've heard that there are a few ancient giant gods imprisoned in the square prison. They are the terrifying ones who are incomparably familiar with the Tao realm and even the Tao Tower. The Tao realm was prepared in the primordial era. It is said that it is the only trump card against the will of the world because this is the only variable that will appear in the great tribulation of the universe. This is also the place that allows the ancient great gods to grow rapidly and possess a host body that is not weaker than the will of the world. The old man continued to speak. According to Pure Sun, the primal chaos realm is in imminent danger and many places are constantly being destroyed. No wonder they need the Tao realm. This is because this is the safest place for the ancient great gods to grow rapidly. Lin Ling secretly guessed. He looked at the old man and said, "Well, I'll try my best to help you find Ancestor Hong Yun. As for Old Third Ghost after we enter, I'll try to talk to him." "Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Actually, with the square prison, sir, you will definitely become a powerful figure in the future because there are too many ancient great gods imprisoned in the square prison. Through their mouths, sir, you will be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. However, there are still a few such prisons in the past. If someone else obtains them, those people will definitely become powerful figures in the future. Now let's see who grows faster." The old man looked at the departing Lin Ling and said with a smile. Lin Ling nodded and did not say anything else. In fact, how could he not know this? This prison had helped him several times. It seemed that the fairy of the 9 heavens had come to help him with this prison. After leaving the square prison, Lin Ling calculated the time. It was almost time to gather. He hurriedly flew in the direction of the island. After a long time, a large number of people had already gathered in front of him. When they saw Lin Ling flying over, their faces lit up with joy. Lin Ling looked carefully and found that Whitewater Pure Maiden and the others had returned. However, from their gloomy expressions, it was obvious that they did not find any entrance. Lin Ling was not surprised because he already knew that there was no entrance to this Tao realm. It had to be opened by someone. "Lin Ling, how is it?" Treasure God Nanwufingyu walked towards Lin Ling and asked anxiously. Beside him, Whitewater Pure Maiden was the first to report the results of her investigation. "I left the river, but the distance is vast and boundless. I can't see any entrance. It's strange because I can't see anything blocking me. However, I can't enter. Oh right, the surrounding river is very powerful. The giant crocodile's body is ferocious. Its strength is not weaker than a mid-god. Now, if we can't enter the Tao realm, then this trip will be in vain. We will have missed our chance." Yes. Chapter 4566. If only my father was here, he would have heard of the Tao realm. She added. Unfortunately, Lin Ling shook his head. The Tao realm was too ancient. Even Sky River Water God had only heard of it, not seen it. I wonder how Ling Nation and the 10 orthodoxies are going to enter. Someone else asked. It's simple, someone is helping them. Suddenly, a faintly discernible voice was heard. Under the sky, a figure was slowly walking towards them. He had a peachwood sword hanging on his waist and a calm look on his face. He was only a dozen meters away from the people of the Thunder God Great Hall. However, everyone knew that there was a mysterious force blocking their path. They had entered Legong's Great Hall. Actually, there's a barrier between us. It's called the Primordial Aura. The man said. Nanwufengyu and the others were shocked. Primordial Aura? Why couldn't they see it? It's normal that you can't see it. Not everyone can see the Hongmeng Qi. However, I can tell you that it's impossible for you to open it with your strength. The only way is to ask for the help of an ancient great god in the Tao realm. The man seemed to have guessed their thoughts and continued. I'm the Maoshan immortal ancestor. I'm here to help you. You might think that I'm lying to you, but unfortunately, no one else can help you. Also, White Maiden, I've heard of you in the past. Your name? I've heard of you too. Maoshan immortal ancestor, the founding god of Taoism. I remember that you died back then. Why are you here now? White Maiden stared at the man, seemingly familiar with him. Hey, I'm indeed dead. In fact, I'm the reincarnation of the Maoshan immortal ancestor. Alright, do you need my help? The man smiled. What's the condition? Whitewater Pure Maiden immediately asked. 3 Dao Realm shards each, it's that simple. The man didn't hide anything. What's a Dao Realm shard? Treasure God Nanwufingyu spoke as well. Haha, some unimportant things, but they are very important to me because they are related to my talent and can improve my talent. So, all of you just have to make a blood oath and say that each of you owes me 3 Dao Realm fragments. If you don't return them, it will be difficult for you to enter the Dao Realm in the future. The man nodded. Then, he revealed an admiring expression. I'm a very trusting person. So don't let me down. So simple. Everyone in Lei Gong's hall frowned, and many of them were tempted. This was probably how Spirit Nation and the 10 Orthodoxies entered. Perhaps this was an unwritten rule of the Dao Realm. Unfortunately, they did not see it. Many ancient gods in the forest were laughing mockingly as they watched the Maoshan immortal ancestor duping the newbies. The newbies are so stupid. I can't believe they believed the Maoshan immortal ancestor's words. I wonder if they'll cry when they find out the importance of the fragments after they enter. Haha, that's for sure. But the Maoshan immortal ancestor said that I'm a very trusting person. He's really fooled us all. All in all, we finally have some Dao Realm fragments. The Maoshan immortal ancestor said that everyone who saw it will get a share. We'll all get 1 Dao Realm fragment and he'll get 2. The ancient gods whispered among themselves. Not only were their expressions full of mockery, but they were also excited. You only need Dao Realm fragments? But how are we going to get them and how are we going to give them to you? You're not trying to trick us, are you? At this time, Bai Shui Sunu was cautious and asked again. Fair Maiden Bai, you're too much. They can doubt me, but you're from the same era as me. And yet you're doubting my character. Humph, you should know that gods who enter the Dao Realm are here to fight against the will of the world. We all want to see you become stronger. That's why I'm here to help you, but you're doubting me. The Maoshan immortal ancestor seemed to be angry. No, I'm just curious. How do we get Dao Realm fragments? Fair Maiden Bai quickly explained, afraid that he would leave in a huff. It's simple. Everyone will get 1 Dao Realm fragment every 100,000 years, so you can pay me back in 200,000 years. As for the first 100,000 years, that won't be necessary, because you'll get a Dao Realm fragment as soon as you enter the Dao Realm, and you'll be able to return to the heavenly realm, said Fair Maiden Bai. Alright, I'll ask for your opinion. Fair Maiden Bai finally nodded, then looked at Treasure God Nanwufengyu. Although they all felt that something was off, they had no idea what Dao Realm fragments were for. Moreover, if they couldn't even enter the Dao Realm, then the fragments were all fake. Therefore, after exchanging glances, they all agreed to the Maoshan immortal ancestor's request and swore a blood oath. The Maoshan immortal ancestor chuckled inwardly when he saw their expressions. These idiots had finally fallen for his trick. As long as they discovered the blood oath, as long as they were in the Dao Realm and under its jurisdiction, the blood oath could never be violated. Just the thought of getting 3 Dao Realm fragments so easily was enough to excite him. Is that enough? At that thought, the Maoshan immortal ancestor said calmly, my time is limited. If you don't make a decision in 3 breaths, I'll be leaving. 1, 2, 3. Wait. Fair Maiden Bai and the others finally spoke, fearing that the Maoshan immortal ancestor would really leave. However, Lin Ling, who had been watching from the sidelines, finally spoke. You can scram now. Scram? The Maoshan immortal ancestor thought that Fair Maiden Bai and the others were about to swear a blood oath, but one of the young men asked him to scram? Did he hear that right? In fact, even Fair Maiden Bai and the others thought that they had heard wrong. The situation was very clear. If the Maoshan immortal ancestor didn't help them, they wouldn't be able to enter the Dao Realm at all. Therefore, the Dao Realm fragments weren't important at all. Entering the Dao Realm was the most important thing. Did I hear wrongly? The Maoshan immortal ancestor stared at Lin Ling, then opened his mouth and said again, look at my lips. Lin Ling walked out and pointed at his mouth. You can scram now. If you don't hear me clearly, I'll say it 3 times. Fuck you, get the hell out of here. Fuck you, get the hell out of here. Fuck you, get the hell out of here. His voice echoed endlessly, spreading to the depths of the forest, causing countless ancient gods to be flabbergasted. They actually asked the Maoshan immortal ancestor to scram? Not to mention that this group of people had a favor to ask of them, even if they didn't with such an arrogant tone. They had completely offended these ancient great gods. A group of newcomers dared to offend an ancient god? Did they have a death wish? Chapter 45-67. Fine, I'll get lost now. Let's see how you're going to get in. The Maoshan immortal ancestor snorted and turned to leave. In his opinion, the young man was just a nobody. Bai Shui and Plain Maiden would definitely complain about him for speaking so carelessly. He turned around slowly on purpose, waiting for Plain Maiden and the others to ask him to stay. When that time came, he would raise the price. However, when he took one step, there was silence behind him. He took 2 steps, but there was still silence behind him. He took 3 steps. The Maoshan immortal ancestor could not take it anymore. He turned around and saw that Plain Maiden and the others were already talking to the young man. None of them were looking at him, let alone asking him to stay. How could this be? The Maoshan immortal ancestor's expression was ferocious. He was a primordial god, and yet he had ended up in such a humiliating state. It was as if not only did they not care about his high and mighty reward, but they also treated him as a scammer. Fine, I'll see how you're going to get in. Let me tell you, the primordial aura is not something you can see. Don't even think about entering the Tao realm for the rest of your lives. The Maoshan immortal ancestor gritted his teeth. He wanted those people to regret their actions. Lin Ling, I see it. However, as soon as he said that, an old man exclaimed, "It was treasure god Namwufeng you." He looked down at his feet with an excited expression. I see it too. Soon a few more voices were heard. Not only did the people in Lei Gong's main hall ignore the Maoshan immortal ancestor, but they were also staring at their feet. Some of them even touched the primordial aura with their hands. It was obvious that they had seen it. To see the primordial aura, one had to check it with their innate talent. Only primordial gods would know about that divine ability. However, not only did one person see it, but many others had as well. You're messing with me. The Maoshan immortal ancestor felt as if someone had slapped him hard on the left side of his face. So what if you can see it? You won't be able to get in without our help. Just you wait, you'll come begging me. The Maoshan immortal ancestor refused to lose face. He gritted his teeth and said. Meanwhile, there was a lot of discussion in the dense forest. What ability does this group of newcomers have? They actually saw primordial energy. Damn it. I was still thinking of collecting some Tao realm fragments, but now I'm afraid this idea of mine is going to be wasted. It's fine. Although those newcomers can see the primordial aura, it doesn't mean that they can enter. Without our help, they can only be arrogant temporarily. That's true. They were angry at first, but they soon sneered. Only they knew of 3 ways to open the Tao realm. The first was to have 10 gods attack at the same time. The second was to have a divine embryo of at least the 5th rank. 9 gods with mid-god divine embryos had joined forces. Beg me this time, I'll take 5 Tao realm pieces from each of you. The Maoshan immortal ancestor had his hands clasped behind his back and was all ears. However, the expected voice didn't arrive. Instead, a rumbling sound rang out in the sky. Formless ripples spread out like ripples, because someone had already made a move on the Grand Mist aura. This person was precisely pure Maiden Whitewater. She didn't seem to have released her divine energy, but with a light pat of her palm, the originally transparent sky clearly changed. There were some changes. Obviously, this was an attack formed by his innate talent. This time, the Maoshan immortal ancestor felt like he had been slapped on the right side of his face. If these newcomers were lucky to be able to see the primordial aura, then being able to attack the primordial aura was no fluke at all. Could it be that there was a primordial god among these newcomers? What's the use of that? Don't think that you can open the Tao realm just because you have a divine embryo of a mid-god. You're not primordial gods and you've just entered the Tao realm. How strong and talented can you be? I don't believe that you have 10 mid-gods. The Maoshan immortal ancestor roared angrily out of humiliation. Unfortunately, no one paid any attention to him from the beginning to the end. Damn these newcomers. Are they trying to make us happy for nothing? The primordial gods in the dense forest were also furious. However, they also didn't believe that there were 10 mid-gods among the newcomers. Gods of such strength usually only appeared in the Chaos realm and the Tao realm. No matter where these newcomers came from, having a mid-god was already very impressive. Boom! At this moment, the ripples in the sky appeared again. The primordial aura was shaking. That was because another powerhouse had made a move. It was treasure god Namwufengyu. Although he wasn't a mid-god, he had a mid-god divine embryo. So they're using another method. They're using 9 mid-god divine embryos to open the primordial aura. The primordial gods in the dense forest came to a realization, but they also became even angrier. One had to know that the Tao realm had an unwritten path. Most newcomers relied on the help of primordial gods in the Tao realm. However, there was an exception this time. They couldn't get the Tao realm fragment, and it was as if they were being toyed with. In your dreams, aside from the Chaos realm and the Tao realm, there are very few mid-god divine embryos in the other universes. I don't believe that you have 9 mid-god divine embryos. The Maoshan immortal ancestor was so angry that he lost his mind. He kept investigating the newcomers and could vaguely sense that there weren't many people with mid-god divine embryos. That meant that the newcomers were going to fail in the end. More primordial gods in the dense forest used their abilities to investigate, and they came to the same conclusion as the Maoshan immortal ancestor. A bunch of clowns. They chose to fight us head-on because they didn't want to embarrass themselves in front of us primordial gods, but they ended up even more humiliated. The 7 fairy-like girls next to an ancient tree sneered. The way I see it, they don't have more than 5 mid-god divine embryos, said a 16-year-old girl with great confidence. A million years ago, they'd been teased by primordial gods as newcomers. They'd long suppressed their anger, but when they wanted to vent, others wouldn't let them. Boom! At this moment, someone else attacked from the sky. It was Qilin. Next was Holy Union. They were also the strongest existences in Lei Gong's Great Hall. Even Emperor Zhongang and the others were slightly weaker than them. However, after Qilin, the only mid-god divine embryo left was Lin Ling. Lord Lin Ling. Qilin looked at Lin Ling and said. Lin Ling nodded. After activating the realm-devouring beast's talent, he suddenly slammed his palm in front of him. Invisible ripples bloomed again, and this time it spread thousands of miles away. So powerful. Many people in the dense forest narrowed their eyes, but soon their faces were filled with anticipation. Who else would be next? Who else? The Maoshan immortal ancestor roared. There were only 5 of them now. They were daydreaming if they wanted to open the Tao realm. Boom! However, before he could finish his sentence, Lin Ling slammed out another palm in the sky. This time he used the Wraith Hell body talent. Chapter 45-68. 2 mid-god divine embryos. The primordial gods in the forest felt as if they had been struck by lightning. The Maoshan immortal ancestor no longer felt like he had been slapped twice, but more like a dozen times. Boom! At this moment, Lin Ling activated his talent again. This was the Wind Dragon talent. This time, the 7th god-tier divine embryo was revealed. Lin Ling didn't stop there. His right hand turned into the Heavenly Dragon innate gift and slammed down again. The 8th mid-god innate gift. For mid-god innate gifts, the primordial gods in the forest were shocked again and again. They didn't understand where this newcomer had come from. How could he have 4 mid-god divine embryos? In fact, apart from pure Maiden Bai, even treasure god Namwufengyu and the others were shocked. They remembered that Lin Ling didn't have that many mid-god divine embryos before he went to the Godland. Just one more. He must fail, he must fail. The Maoshan immortal ancestor was more nervous than ever. If Lin Ling succeeded, he would be greatly humiliated. One person can't have 5 mid-god divine embryos. From what I remember, there wasn't one in the primordial era, the era of gods, or even the chaos realm. There's no way such a freak exists. The Maoshan immortal ancestor shook his head. There was still hope in his heart. The primordial gods in the forest were silent. They felt like they had seen a ghost today. However, they had the same thought as the Maoshan immortal ancestor. One person couldn't have 5 mid-god divine embryos. After all, such a god would be incomparably terrifying in the future. Boom! But at this moment, the final straw that crushed their hearts appeared. Linling, the fifth divine embryo. This was the Luai's true body. This kid. Even treasure god Nanwufengyu and the others were shocked. 5 divine embryos. What a monster. Lord Linling is truly amazing, said Shangoei excitedly. Linling wasn't simple at all, just like what the great overlord of the chaos world had said. After the 9 god embryos appeared, a 5-colored light appeared in the sky. The Grand Mist aura was completely revealed. If one looked closely, they would see that the Grand Mist aura covered the entire sky. It was boundless and mysterious. However, under Linling's body a gap appeared. It was more than 10 meters wide, and it was recovering at a very slow speed. My lord, it worked. Everyone in Legong's hall cheered when they saw the gap in the primordial aura. After so much effort, they could finally enter the Dao realm. Lord Linling is the best. Everyone looked at Linling, and the adoration in their eyes became even more intense. Let's go. Linling smiled faintly and led the group to the Dao realm. He glanced at the Maoshan immortal ancestor as he passed by. Linling had already seen through the Maoshan immortal ancestor's strength. He was one of the strongest lesser gods, but unfortunately he was not a mid-god. Linling was not afraid at all. Although the Dao realm had accumulated a large number of ancient great gods, not everyone had reached the intermediate celestial realm due to the length of time they had cultivated. Of course, stepping into the intermediate celestial realm was only a matter of time for those in the Dao realm. Ignoring the Maoshan immortal ancestor, Linling led the group to the island. The Maoshan immortal ancestor stood silently in the sky, his face dark and his body trembling. The newcomers had ignored him again. Moreover, they had successfully entered the Dao realm right before his eyes. That was a great humiliation. It was the first time the Maoshan immortal ancestor had been so humiliated since he became a primordial god. Under the dense forest, the ancient gods had ugly expressions because no matter where they were, there was always an unwritten rule that the newcomers had to respect the seniors. But now they had all been disregarded. Are they doing this on purpose? Newborn calves aren't afraid of tigers. Although we're not the strongest among the Dao realm, we're still the inheritors of primordial gods. We'll definitely return to godhood in the future. These people are going too far by not giving us face. Suddenly, a woman's voice came from under the ancient tree. She seemed to be chuckling, but there was a hint of discord in her voice, which made the primordial god's expressions even uglier. However, Linling did not pay attention to them at all and brought everyone down. At the same time, the primordial aura in the sky shot out rays of light and landed between everyone's eyebrows, then disappeared. Dao antecedents. At that moment, everyone's eyes lit up in Legong's great hall. They vaguely felt something extra in their hearts. Then they opened their palms, and a colorful fragment appeared in their palms. The irregular shape of the fragment was none other than a Dao realm fragment. The Dao realm fragment seemed to be formed from primordial aura. According to the records of Dao antecedents, Dao realm fragments could be exchanged with primordial gods for treasures, and were extremely important. We were almost fooled. Everyone summoned their Dao antecedents and looked at the white jade slip with a sudden realization. Previously, the Maoshan immortal ancestor had told them that Dao realm fragments were useless, and they almost had to hand over their Dao realm fragments. Now they all knew that Dao realm fragments were actually the key to growth in the Dao realm. Linling also carefully looked at the white jade slip in his hand. Then, he realized that it seemed to be the help of this jade slip in order to leave the Dao realm. At the same time, there were a lot of treasures to exchange in the Dao antecedents. That also meant that as long as he had Dao realm fragments, Linling's strength could also increase. One had to know that in the void of the 9 states, due to the limited resources, it was thousands of times more difficult for Linling to break through to the next realm. It could even be said that it was impossible unless he was lucky. Now that he was in the Dao realm, everything was possible. Are you all deliberately messing with me? At that moment, a cold voice interrupted everyone's investigation. They saw the Maoshan immortal ancestor walking down step by step. The peachwood sword at his waist danced, and wisps of terrifying divine power spread out, forming a peach blossom cloud around his body. Seeing that, everyone looked up with anger in their eyes. The Maoshan immortal ancestor had almost fooled them, and now he had the nerve to be angry? What do you want? Lin Ling put away his Dao antecedents and looked coldly at the Maoshan immortal ancestor. We'll bet 10 Dao realm fragments. You and I will fight and the winner will take them away. Do you dare? The Maoshan immortal ancestor stopped in his tracks and glared at Lin Ling with resentment. Lin Ling had made him lose all face and even caused him to lose a huge amount of Dao realm fragments. He was unable to swallow this insult. Maoshan immortal ancestor, if you want to fight, I'll fight you. You're tuning in to the Li Mei Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.